Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, May the 22nd, 2022. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. And we survived another week. This will be my weekly update that I'll be putting on YouTube, where I'm going to go over methane and sea ice and climate-related issues for the week. And I'd like to welcome everyone to the show tonight. And we're going to start with the methane data for NOAA from yesterday, the 21st, in the morning. This is the Met-Op-B or Met-Op-1 satellite, and I've been tracking this 469 millibar reading. The mean or average was 1922 parts per billion. The high reading was 2450, and we can see that region, the range, the pink, the bright pink, the range is between 2000 and whatever this high number is, in this case 2450. We're seeing the pink even further south, all the way down to the Antarctic coastline. So it could be anything between 2000 and the 2450 there. In the afternoon, the mean was 1924 and the high reading was 2426. So now we'll go to the spreadsheet where I've been tracking this. So for the 21st, that averages out to be 1922.5 parts per billion, giving us an increase this week of half a part per billion. So here we can see this blue line just barely going up. So it's still stair-stepping, but I anticipate methane to be really going up, and this starting this week. So we're 19 parts per billion higher than this time a year ago, and 53 parts per billion higher than where I started tracking this in 2019, March the 1st. So you can see the trend here. We never go back down to the lows before, from the year before. So we're on an exponential rise here. So let's see what methane did this week. Here in my show last week, for the 14th, we ended up at 1922 parts per billion for the week, and then on the 15th it went up half a part per billion. 16th and 17th, no change. The 18th it went down 1.5. On the 19th it shot up 2 parts per billion. And on the 20th, it went up again 1 part per billion. And then on the 21st, it came down 1.5 parts per billion. But we ended up 19 parts per billion higher than a year ago. So on the 20th, we were at 1924. So we can see it's just kind of waffling around between 1922 and 1924 this week. Now we'll look at the CAMS data. This is from Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service in the EU. I have Saturday the 21st up. Arctic view and surface level ready to go. There's our color ledger. So the data is for Saturday, and forecast period is running Sunday through Wednesday. So here is our problem spot off the Canada coast in the North Atlantic. That's percolating pretty good. And then here in this Scandinavian area, you can see it's filling up. And also here on this north coast of Norway, see it's streaming out. I'm thinking that could be from oil drilling. I'm not for sure. But this whole Scandinavian area is just filling up. Also moving into Russia there. And see this spot off the coast of Norway. That's kind of a constant these days as well. That could be oil drilling, I'm thinking. If anybody has any ideas on that, just leave it in the comments section. And see, the interior of Russia is coming back to life. Now earlier this week we saw a lot coming up in the Kara Sea, and we also saw it coming up in this East Siberian Sea. And we're still seeing, see the yellows. Watch for the yellows, which is a higher reading. We had a little burst here near the Russia coast there in the East Siberian Sea. We also are watching this Bering Strait. See in the forecast period where it's coming up. In the Bering Strait, and then here in this Chukchi Sea. So the ice has melted in this Bering Strait, and so I'm thinking that it's already heating up, and that's probably pretty shallow, and so the sediments are heating up and releasing methane. And here at Koktovik, Alaska, that's still coming up. That's probably oil related. And we can see in the southern part of Alaska, this is coming back to life as that's heating back up. And now we'll go to the North Pole view. So we can see the UK filled up, and also over, see Germany, especially northern Germany there. That's kind of been a constant blobby area for a long time. And here in the Persian Gulf, India, and we can see it spilling over the coastline in the green readings now. And as things heat up, these readings will get higher in this Bengal Bay and also in the Sea of Arabia. And China is filling back up. And look at Japan, that's all a big blob. And see these waves of green moving out. This is high methane, especially where you see it moving out over the ocean. And then here in North America, this eastern seaboard on the U.S., that's high, and then you can see the blobs popping up on certain days, just depending on the temperatures and you know, what kind of weather they've had. Or, you know, if it's an oil drilling area, oil fracking or something like that, that's kind of a constant. If it's heavily populated, you'll see high methane. Now we'll hop down to the Antarctic. Now what you're seeing here on this western peninsula is left over from what streamed down off of South America. We were watching this week, streaming down. So the 1820 darker blue reading is now gone. Haven't seen any of that in this view. The lowest reading we're seeing is the 1840 parts per billion. So that's our main background color now for the southern hemisphere, but specifically in this reading as well. And we can see a little bit higher readings where it's streaming down. Like this is coming, I think it's from Africa. See it streaming down there. And it's hard to see where it's popping up around this Antarctic coastline. We are seeing still some isolated releases here at the Brunt ice shelf. We're able to see that. And it's all in the dark now. It's winter time. We're going into winter down there and totally dark. And now we'll look at the global view. And we can see just a wisp of that lower reading here in the Pacific, but it'll go away. Methane is it's on the rise here. It does redistribute as we head into the different seasons as well. Look at South America, that's still filling up. So here it's streaming off of Australia, coming down. I thought that was Africa, but I guess that was Australia there. And now we'll go to 500 HPA. So here's the heaviest over the northern part, mainly the Arctic regions, but it's also coming further south. Here's heavy from Japan across China and parts of India, and see the yellows coming further south. It's redistributing. And then total column. And here the highest readings are over China, Japan, eastern part of India. And then we've just got a couple more to go over here. This is sulfur dioxide today from CAMS. We're not seeing any bursts, really big bursts here. See the reddish tinge here over India. This is from pollution. Same thing with China, that's from pollution. And Saudi Arabia, that's from pollution as well. And here it is at 500 HPA. We've got a little reddish here on Kamchatka. That's volcanic related, more than likely. And this is still hanging around at 500 HPA on over western part of South America, and also over Popocatépetl volcano. These are volcano related. And here's the ozone reading over the Antarctic today. Now we did see another danger zone hole open up over this western peninsula and the Weddell Sea this week. It opened up and closed within about a 24-hour period, but here we're seeing it's in the aqua color, so it's getting thin. And here's where the hole is forming over the Antarctic now that the sun's gone down there. And here in the Arctic we can see that the heavy ozone has redistributed or dissipated or something, but it's a lot lighter, isn't it? And we're seeing even yellows up here now. And here's the global view. So here's the Weddell Sea. Here we have a break coming up through to Africa, and see the greens are coming further north. The green and greenish tinges are coming further north. But look at this large area around the mid-latitudes where it's all in the greens. And then I took just a couple of earthquake pictures today and posted those. We had 208 worldwide. There was a 6.3 south of the Fiji Islands. It was 589 kilometers deep. This came in at just after midnight Pacific time, 12:06, and there are 7 earthquakes in this picture. So there's they're stacked up here in this same area, except for this one smaller one at New Zealand of 4.5. And then another big one, 6.0 off the coast of Japan near Katsuura. This came in at 8:17 this morning, and there's a lot of activity going on around Japan. We're seeing 9 in this picture, so we have some others stacked up underneath that big circle there. And that's all of those. Now we'll go through Climate Reanalyzer. Going to start with 2 meter temperature anomaly. So we've got browns over the most of the Arctic here, most of the Arctic Ocean, and browns and reds over Russia here. So we've got browns over Europe, over to Spain, and browns on this eastern seaboard of the US. But look at all these blues. That's the cold air swooping down through Canada. And so a lot of the US is cooler than normal right now. We're kind of having a weather whiplash here in my region, in the Reno area. But you know, it'll be hot soon enough. And over the Weddell Sea, we've got reds, and over this western peninsula. So this is the same area that we saw the thin ozone just now too. Worldwide, we're up 0.1 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.3 C. The Arctic is up 1.4 C. The Antarctic is down 1.4 C. Southern hemisphere is down 0.2 C, and the tropics are down 0.1 C. So even with the world temperature only being up 0.1 C, the Arctic is up 1.4 C, so that's higher than normal. And you know, it'll go up this summer as things heat up. Here's precipitation in clouds. The green is rain, and we can see it's raining up right next to the coastline of Greenland. And look how far north it's raining here, coming up in the North Atlantic, and here over Russia, Murmansk, and here in the interior of Russia. That's pretty far north for it to be raining. And you see this big swath of rain from Texas up. Now, in a couple of days, that'll turn into blobs of methane on CAMS. That's usually how it works. Here's the flat view. Here's what's left of the jet stream. Just the, look at that. It broke last summer and it never put itself back together. Look at the southern hemisphere. That looks wild, doesn't it? Look at all the breaks. Here's sea ice and snow cover. Now I'm thinking in my show next week, or maybe starting in June, I'll be showing the daily images from this, because we should be starting to see dramatic, or seeing some noticeable changes from day to day in the sea ice and snow cover here. Right now we're see the dark blue kind of popping through here in the Hudson Bay. That's where it's melting. Also here in the Baffin Bay next to the Canada coastline, that's showing melting, and it's kind of hard to see, to tell on any difference in melting right here, other than, you know, just those colors. And here we have sea surface temperature anomaly. This is from Thursday. Hasn't been updated since then. We've got the browns here in the Barents Sea and the North Atlantic, and see the reds coming in the Mediterranean already. And pinks and purples next to the pinks. Here in the North Atlantic, we can see the Gulf of Mexico is turning brown. Okay, my mouse doesn't want to cooperate. Look at this brown down here. Around this western peninsula. That's not good. And look up here. Let's see, just south of Russia in the Pacific Ocean. See, that's red. That's getting up there. And around Japan, see, it's red and going into pink or reds. And this will be getting worse as soon as they're going to be releasing more of the radioactive water from Fukushima into the Pacific Ocean, and so that'll heat things up more. So we're pretty much doomed. Look here in the Mediterranean, see the red? That's already where's the color ledger? Down here. That's 4 to 5 C higher than normal already here south of France and next to Spain. See, these browns. All around Indonesia and the Tasman Sea browns. Worldwide, we're up 0.3 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.4 C. North Atlantic and North Pacific are up 0.5 C. The southern hemisphere is up 0.3 C. And the equatorial Pacific is down 0.2 C. Okay, now we'll move into the sea ice part of our report. Here we're looking at the U.S. Navy models. This is in the Arctic sea ice thickness for today. Here's our color ledger on the right, and we can see most of it is in some shade of aqua. Between the dark aqua is 1.5 meters thick, and then regular aqua is about 2 meters thick. Then bright, moving into green, is up to about 2.5 meters thick. The green is 3 meters thick. And then the dark red, which we just have a little fringe of, is about 5 meters thick. So you can see quite a bit of difference since last week. Up here you can see the white where it's melting. This is in the Laptev Sea, and a lot of deterioration here in the Kara Sea. And on this eastern edge of the ice you can see that's really deteriorating, and the colors are going instead of aqua up here in the Laptev Sea, it's moved down into the blues and purples and into nothing. And then darker aquas coming across. And here around Greenland, see it's melting back around the coastlines. And here you can see the melt in the Hudson Bay, and see this is opening up. These tributaries are starting to open up too. You can see the hole there, the white. And here, see, here's the hole by the Canada coastline, and by Alaska. Here's the Bering Strait where it's opened up. And Sea of Okhotsk is in melting out. There's just a little bit of ice left right up there on that Russia coastline. Now we'll look at the 30-day animation. This was updated to today, so the forecast goes back 3 weeks. The data goes back 3 weeks, and the forecast goes out to next Sunday. I got a kind of a late start recording this. Now we'll watch this Hudson Bay area. See, that's in high melt now. And along this Canada coastline, see, that's melting. Let's look at these tributaries. Yeah, you're starting to see a lot of melting here, and in Baffin Bay. And then moving around. And we're seeing the aqua going more dark. That's the big noticeable thing, especially in our forecast period. So I'll stop this. Okay, here we are today. See, 522. So I'll just click through and we'll see the change that's forecast this week. Wow, look at the movement. So definite changing going into the dark aqua from the Russia coastline all the way across into this Bering Beaufort Sea. Sorry. You can also see that red breaking up there. And see, it's moving down into the blues now. So it's also breaking apart as this is happening. Here's the Beaufort Sea ice thickness view. Here's Canada on the right. There's what's left pretty much of the thickest ice. 5 meters. And then the green is 3 meters. Here's our hole here on the coastline and over by Alaska. And here's the 30-day animation, again updated to today. And you see those lines open up. That's where the leads are opening up, so the big cracks. Those are called the leads, the big long lines in between the big areas that are frozen, that are thicker. So those open up first, and here I stopped it on the 29th. See these darker lines? Those are the cracks in the ice, and see it's all the way across. And look up here. So we'll go back to today. So here we are. So we'll just click through. See that? There it is. And then in the Antarctic, it's their winter time, so the regrowth is happening. We can see it's thickening here in the Ross Sea, and the extent is coming out. Little thickening going on here in the Weddell Sea. Here's the 30-day animation. So let's watch this. So there's that. This is from National Snow and Ice Data Center. This is yesterday. Sea ice concentration. The more blues there are and the darker blue it is, the less concentration. And so that means that the ice is breaking up and thinning out, melting. See all these blues. Here's sea ice extent for today, for yesterday. This blue line is this year. This dotted line is 2012, so we're just below 2012. but it didn't see it's headed downward. And here's the Antarctic, and here's the extent, and see the refreeze. It's running kind of parallel with the gray line, which is the mean, and the green line is last year, so we're still under last year. Here's Greenland. I'm showing that in my reports now. This is ice, melting of the ice sheet. This is as of yesterday. See the salmon color? That's where it's melting here on this east side. It's all we're seeing right this second. And these are the cumulative melt days so far for this year. So we're moving into more melting on this southern end. See the blues? It starts with the blue color. Here's their extent chart. The red is this year, and the dotted line is the median. And we can see it had a little hump there this week, couple of little humps this week. So we had early melting, even see way back here at the beginning of April. And that's all of those. Now we'll move on to NASA Worldview, and I wanted to, earlier I couldn't get the nighttime layer. Oh, there it is. Wait, that's the 20th. Yeah, see, no nighttime layer for today or yesterday. See, even if I refresh, no nighttime layer. I don't know why. So here's the latest on the nighttime layer. And I'm tracking that A76 iceberg. Here he is. This, see, he's on his way out. He's almost out to the edge of the sea ice. See, there he is. And wait, I lost him. We can just barely make it out here. It's under some clouds there on the 20th. And right down here is where that had broken off. Right here. So here's our sea ice. This is the Weddell Sea. See, you can make it out there. Here's the Brunt ice shelf, and you can see it's frozen up to it. Come on, mouse. Well, that is just not cooperating. Here's the east side. There's the ice. Little fringe coming out there. So not a lot. Now Look at this. Look at all this open water next to the coastline. So it's in the process of refreeze. Now here's the Ross Sea. Oh, that's a good view. Look at this. Here's Ross Island. And there's Mount Erebus, the volcano. Right up here, see that light? That is the McMurdo Research Station. Right there, that little light. So it's pretty thin where it's coming up to the ice shelf there. And then the west side, let's look at this. See all this open water? So it must be quite a bit warmer there for it to not have refrozen yet. The Thwaites Glacier is right under that cloud. Can't see it. There's the 18th. Can't really see anything. It's too cloudy. Pine Island Glacier is up here. Let's see, too many clouds. But the tongue from the Thwaites Glacier comes down here. And then there's sea ice extending there. But we have a lot of open water in between there. And then here's the Western Peninsula. And there's our guy on the 18th. And so forth. So that's the Antarctic right now. As best as we could see it. Now we'll go to the Arctic. Here we are today. And we'll turn on this sea ice concentration layer. And where you see the colors, that's where it's melting. See here in the Hudson Bay, here along Canada. Here's where it's melting in the North Baffin Bay and on this east side, and here in the Laptev Sea. And look here, see the pinks? Now it's going into the reds. Here in this East Siberian Sea, this ice is starting to come apart. And see the hole here, that's the Bering Strait, that's open. And here's the hole by Alaska. And here's the hole by Canada. Here's Svalbard. Here's this hole. It's it's opening up even more near Franz Josef Land. So let's turn that layer off. And we'll see what we can see on our satellite view. I like to start here at Greenland. Here's the Lincoln Sea. You can see a lot of open water here. And look at these cracks. See, these are the leads. See how it's opening up? In the dark, that's open water there. So, see, here's some more opening up further north. And see, we can see it opening up here. Wherever we don't have a heavy cloud cover, we'll be able to see kind of what's going on. Even through thin clouds, you can make out the cracks. Look at this. Look at this. And here coming into the nearest strait. Now this is one of the exit points for the sea ice. And here it's coming down. And gotta look at this open area. And then here, look at all that open. And then this opens out into the Baffin Bay. And a lot of open water. See the dark blue. And coming down on this west side of Greenland. Let's go back up. Look at this. There's open water. And here's that's a Hudson Bay. No, wait, down here. This is a different part of it. Inlet. I don't know what that's called. Right down here is the Hudson Bay. So we've got clouds, but you can see that's in high melt. See that? And then coming around. Now here's the Beaufort Sea. Here's the Canada coastline. Here's the hole. We've got a cloud there. You can see that sea ice breaking up. Here we are today. Look at this. I didn't realize I was on the 20th. Look at this today on the nearest strait. That's really opening up, isn't it? Look at that. There's the Lincoln Sea. Here's the Beaufort Sea. Oops. Alright. See the dark? That's the water. So this is starting to come apart. You can see here. See these cracks? See that? Here's Alaska. There's the hole. Here's the Bering Strait. See, that's wide open. And here's some ice pieces here. This is in high melt. And we'll come around the Russia coastline. There's a little ice shelf that extends from the coast, and then the sea ice where it comes up to it, that melts away from that ice shelf first, comes away from there first. Here's New Siberian Islands. See, that's open. Let's look. There's the 20th. Here's the Laptev Sea. See, that's open. Here it is today. See, a lot of open water there. Here's a cloud, but you can see a lot of open water there. And here's Severnaya Zemlya. Here's Komsomolets. Now this week I did see on CAMS some methane percolating around this tip of Komsomolets just for a day or so. And see, here's that where the ice is melting. Look at this. And here's the Kara Sea. Now there's a cloud layer, so it's really hard to see, but see around this Yamal Peninsula, that's open there, see? And it's melting further in. This is the Gulf of Ob here. And Novaya Zemlya. And see, that's pretty good melt going on there. See, this west side is open. Here's Franz Josef Land, and this is open here. See, and here's a little fringe of ice on this eastern edge. Look, here it was yesterday. See, you can see all that open water. That's really melting fast. And then here's Svalbard. There was a cluster of earthquakes that happened yesterday just north of Svalbard, right up in this region, up to a 5.8. I'll show that in a little bit here. But we had quite a few Arctic earthquakes this week. I'm thinking because of the melting, and we're starting to see some isostatic rebound already. Uh-oh. Here we are. And we're back to Greenland. And here's this east side. See? And then clouds. This is the rain today. See, it's all the way right up to the coastline. Now we'll look at some earthquakes. This is USGS. For the last 24 hours, we're showing 205. I already showed those couple of large ones. Now, let's turn on 7 days all magnitudes. And look up here. That's a lot of movement up there in the Arctic. Look, and we had a big one south of New Zealand, a 6.9, McCurry Island region. That was on the 19th. And Philippines, 6.1. I think that got downgraded. That was higher. Look, and up here in the Aleutian Islands, 5.8. So some big ones. 5.4 Kuril Islands. But I'm really interested in all these Arctic earthquakes. And then there's one more right up here. See that? So we've got really 12, because it's not counting. It's not counting this one on the line. Look at that. Man, we haven't seen activity like this in a week since I can remember. But here's the cluster right there. That all came in a 24-hour period. And then one on the north end of Greenland, 4.1. That was at 11 o'clock yesterday morning. But let's look at these here. We've got 8 here. And the reporting station, it says north of Svalbard. This all started on the 20th at 5:39 in the afternoon Pacific time for the 4.6. And then a 5.8 just after midnight, 12:01 a.m. And then a 4.3 at 12:15, 4.5, 12:24, 5.3, 12:43, 4.2, 1:03, 4.5, 1:11, and then the last one was at 4.5 at 4:52. So really in a 12-hour period, all of that happened. So that's highly unusual. And then here's another one. 4.6 Norwegian Sea. That was on the 16th. This one was, I think that was a 4.1. So it's right on that plate line there. Those are. So we've got 1,822 worldwide this week. So that's my report for tonight. I like to bring things back to a spiritual perspective. Last week we started reading out of the book of Wisdom by Solomon. Let's go. The book of Wisdom, or the Wisdom of Solomon. And this is one of the books that didn't make it into the Bible. Then it's called the Apocrypha. The group of books that were considered but didn't make it in for whatever reason. So we'll continue with this. Wisdom chapter 2. For the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright, our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy, neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave. For we are born at all adventure, and we shall be hereafter as though we had never been. For the breath in our nostrils is as smoke, and a little spark in the moving of our heart, which being extinguished, our body shall be turned into ashes, and our spirit shall vanish as the soft air. And our name shall be forgotten in time, and no man shall have our works in remembrance, and our life shall pass away as the trace of a cloud, and shall be dispersed as a mist, that is driven away with the beams of the sun, and overcome with the heat thereof. For our time is a very shadow that passeth away, and after our end there is no returning, for it is fast sealed, so that no man cometh again. Come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth. Let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass by us. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they be withered. Let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness. Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place, for this is our portion, and our lot is this. Let us oppose the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged. Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. Therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn, and he is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objecteth to our infamy the transgressions of our education. He professeth to have the knowledge of God, and he calleth himself the child of the Lord. He was made to reprove our thoughts. He is grievous unto us even to behold. For his life is not like other men's. His ways are of another fashion. We are esteemed of him as counterfeits. He abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness. He pronounceth the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh his boast that God is his Father. Let us see if his words be true, and let us prove what shall happen in the end of him. For if the just man be the Son of God, he will help him, and deliver him from the hand of his enemies. Let us examine him with despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience. Let us condemn him with a shameful death, for by his own saying he shall be respected. Such things they did imagine, and were deceived, for their own wickedness hath blinded them. As for the mysteries of God, they knew them not, neither hoped they for the wages of righteousness, nor discerned a reward for blameless souls. For God created man to be immortal, and made him to be an image of his own eternity. Nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death into the world, and they that do hold of his side do find it. Wisdom, chapter 2. And Jesus said, I am the way and the truth and the life, and the only way to my Father's kingdom is through me, and you will have everlasting life. So that goes right along with what Solomon said, that we were created to have everlasting life, but spiritual life with God, if we choose to follow that path. So I recommend that people get their spiritual houses in order, and very, very soon. Time is very short. It's very short. And I recommend that you get right with God and Jesus. If you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, I highly recommend it. If you want to be of the righteous. If not, then you won't be of the righteous. You'll be with the condemned. So, I hope everyone has a good week, and I'll be praying for you. Till next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.